Good afternoon. We will now reconvene the public meeting. We were rising from closed session with a report that council appoints Amanda Newell to the Sustainability Advisory Committee for the 2022-2026 term of council. And I have a mover and a seconder for that appointment. Councillor Byrne, Deputy Mayor Huntley, all in favor? That is approved. Next on the agenda, we have the minutes of the regular meeting held April 15th. Be approved as presented. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Byrne, Councillor Natchoff, all in favor? That is approved. Next, we have the minutes from the Downtown BA Board of Management meeting of January 11th and March 7th be received for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley and Councillor Natchoff. All in favor, that is approved. And lastly, we have the minutes from the February 26th and March 25th, 2024 Melbourne Valley Trails Advisory Committee meetings approved as presented. Those minutes, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Natchoff, all in favor, that is approved. Thank you for that, Council. Now we'll move into the report section. And first on the list is 8.1, Report Finance 2024-04, Actual to Budget. Ms. Pope.
Thank you. I have before you Q1 actual to budget report. These are on the new reports that you saw throughout the budget process using the new Diamond software. Just a reminder to council that in the first quarter, the expenses and revenue streams are not all equally distributed in a fiscal year. For example, corporate insurance is paid at the beginning of the year, whereas legal fees would be throughout the year. And of course, we wouldn't be collecting parks revenue, et cetera, until those actual seasons open up. But I have before you this report if there's any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Councillor Byrne and then Deputy Mayor Huntley.
Through the chair, I just curious on the operating budget, the 2023 comparison, because the budgets got expanded for each department with the 2024 vote. What does that really reflect? Like, how do you compare that to the term of 23 budget as far as the size of the budget and the expenses? Or I'm just trying to wrap my head around how you do that.
Thank you. That was a request to add the comparison from the report in 2023. It is looking at the actual budget spent and available to what was approved by council. So it's weighted the same way where it's the actuals versus the budget for both those years. But it doesn't compare the year over year comparison that's done through the budget process to show you the previous year and the increase or decrease to the overall budget.
Deputy Mayor Huntley.
Through you, Chair, and nice segue. I actually want to thank you for putting the comparison in there because it gives us a little bit of context behind those numbers and we can tell whether things are in line or out of whack, and it just kind of gives us a little bit more meaning to these numbers. Like obviously they're not going to directly compare, but it can give us kind of a general feel for whether they're trending in the right direction. So I do appreciate the I don't know how much extra work I've put into it, but I do appreciate that it has been done. Thank you.
Seeing no other, Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair to Ms. Pope, this is kind of related, but not really. The numbers for the final costing for, say, the 4-bay garage we built down in Millbrook for the Parks Department and the work that was done at the Cabin Maple Leaf Park to remove the picnic shelter. Will those numbers be coming forward at any time in the future?
Thank you. To council, we have basically reporting in the new Diamond software to be able to provide capital in the future. And so although historically that hasn't been part of the actual to budget that is coming forward in the next quarter, we're just developing those right now. And so you will start to see the capital side of things being reported on a regular basis quarterly as well. But Q1, because generally speaking, we don't move forward with capital until after the budget has been approved and then the tenders go out. There really isn't much spending towards capital in the first quarter unless it's a rollover project from the previous year. So there's not a lot to report in Q1, but Q2, Q3, and then through the budget process, we will have those going forward.
All right, thank you for that, Ms. Pope. So we're just receiving the report for information. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? Councillor Byrne, Councillor Natchoff, all in favor? That is approved. 8.2, Mr. Allison, Parks and Facilities 2024-01, Cabin Montague Community Center Splash Pad Design and Install RFP. Chris.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I have before you Parks and Facilities Report 2024-01, Cabin Monaghan Community Center splash pad design and installation request for proposal, RFP PF 24-01. The recommendation is that council award the Cabin Monaghan Community Center splash pad design and installation request for the proposal RFP PF 24-01 to ABC Recreation at the proposal amount of $224,826.95 with HST in the amount of $29,227.50 for a total amount of $254,054.45. The total proposal amount with net municipal HST is $228,783.90. ABC Recreation's proposal has come in under the $230,000 approved in the 2024 capital budget. Township staff have also applied for a Trillium grant on this project with funding request of $195,500 to cover installation and equipment costs. Grant funding approvals are to be announced on July 9th. This date was outlined in the RFP as the earliest start date for the project to be eligible for construction costs. ABC Recreation has indicated a start date of July 15th with a 2-week turnaround on completion, having the splash pad up and running for the first week of August.
Thank you, Chris. And so just to clarify, with regards to the Trillium grant, we need to have the project funded and ready to go. Unfortunately, we can't wait for Trillium to let us know on their timeline whether or not we're going to be successful with our 195K. But if we are, I'm assuming staff will let council know at a future meeting that, you know, we have been successful, and obviously then we'll have additional decisions to make.
To you, Mayor, that is correct. We can bring back a report to council on after review of the strategic plan and maybe some costing estimates. We could bring back a report to council on surplus funds.
And just to clarify as well, I believe it's outlined in the report, but so should we get approval today? I know there's like a somewhat 8-week delay to get some of the stuff on order. But then what, if I'm not mistaken, I think I asked you about this last week, but the install timeline is about 2 weeks they're estimating. So if we're able to commence on July 9th, we'll be open before that first week in August kind of idea. Is that correct?
That is correct. There is a 8-week timeline on ordering. So if it's approved today, we could order tomorrow. And the start date, ABC Recreation has confirmed that they can start on July 15th with a 2-week turnaround, which will put us at July 29th, open for August.
Excellent. Councilor Byrne?
Through the chair, a couple of things. So it is the lowest bidder. I did watch the live stream of that meeting. I don't know how you advertised it or how it went. I thought maybe the people that put the tenders in would have been invited. Maybe they were, I'm not sure. I was amazed at how close the quotes all came into that from one end to the other. But my problem is, just because you're getting the lowest bidder, I don't want to end up in another situation like we have next door with the fire hall, or we're still doing work down at the new hockey rink that, as far as I know, was tendered out 6 years ago and still not complete. So just the lowest bid. Where does ABC rank in anything as far as track record?
Through you, Mayor, to Councilor Byrne, we did review all the proposals sent in. ABC is one of the leaders in splash pads. They had a well laid out design. They ensured to include inclusion of sensory items. The design is was a little above others. They have 21 water features included. All in all, ABC's proposal was above others as well as lower costing.
Other questions? If not, I'm sure the community will be very happy to get this up and running. So hopefully there's no delays and we can get this stuff ordered ASAP. So the recommendation is that council award the Cabin Monaghan Community Center splash pad design and installation request for proposal to ABC Recreation at the proposed amount. Looking for a mover and a seconder. Deputy Mayor Huntley, Councillor Natchap, all in favor? That is approved. Looking forward to splashing in the summer after all. Thank you for that, Chris. Next report, 8.3, tender, Public Works, County of Peterborough Cooperative Tender for Service Treatment. Mr. Hutchison is here today. Thank you, Drew. Take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to council. Before you, we have Public Works Report 2024-07 with recommendations regarding the County of Peterborough Cooperative Tender T dash 02 dash 2024 surface treatment. The recommendations before you are as followed. Recommendation 1, that council award Cavan-Monaghan's portion of the Peterborough County Cooperative Tender T dash 02 dash 2024 to Miller Paving Limited at the lowest tender amount of $365,657.60. The total tender amount with net municipal HST is $372,093.17. Recommendation 2 is that council approve the addition of Buckland Drive to the surface treatment program for the amount of $8,072.49. The total amount of the Buckland Drive addition, including net municipal HST, is $8,215.03. Recommendation 3 is that council approves a 10% contingency in the amount of $38,030.82 for this project. The total amount for approval, including contingencies, is $418,339.03. The surface treatment program of $418,510 was approved in the 2024 capital budget.
Thanks, Drew. And just for clarity, so because I think a resident reached out to me last week and asked a question just with regards to Buckland Drive being added. We're choosing Buckland because it was identified in the Transport Master Plan, correct, as an area for this sort of surface extension. So that's why that's how it got on the list to be added. Is that correct?
Correct. Within our roads need study, it was rated on a street level where upgrades were needed. And with our original tender being under budget, we had the opportunity to add this section of road still within the overall budget of the program.
Thanks. So now I don't need to send a correction email. So thanks for confirming that. Other questions, Councillor Byrne?
Through the chair to Drew, in the process with doing this way with the Peterborough County, everybody kind of collaborating, what's your assessment about how that worked out as far as the township's concerned? Do you think we got a better pricing deal doing it this way? Was it more convoluted? Was it time consuming? Like, what's your personal take on the whole process?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Byrne. We've been included in the county's cooperative tender for a number of years now. We feel as a working group that we do get a better price than going out individually as municipalities. When a company can put a tender together and get multiple municipalities in the same area, they do tend to go in at a lower budget so that they're in the same area for a longer period of time, rather than going forward with, say, 8 different tenders for individual townships.
Thanks for that, Drew. Councillor Natchoff?
Thank you, through you, Chair. If you can just answer one question for me here. I'm just looking at the differences between, so as an example for the county of Peterborough. Is that better? Is that better? Okay. So for Greenwood Paving, they came in at 3.481 million. And Miller Paving came in less than for Peterborough County. In our circumstances, Miller came in cheaper than Greenwood. Considering that Peterborough County is paying the largest amount of money for paving, we still are able to select the lowest tendered bid cost wise, opposed to Peterborough County. Like, are they bound to our decision then?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Natchoff. We do have the opportunity to pick our lowest bid. So basically with the cooperative tender, all the townships list out their work that is included. And then the contractors are able to submit one tender for the whole, for each different municipality rather than having to create 8 separate tenders. So within the tender, we do have the authority to pick our lowest bid based on our work, and we don't have to agree to use the same contractor as the rest of the municipalities and the county.
Thanks for that, Drew. Counselor Byrne.
Through the chair, one thing I'd like to see if it can get addressed maybe in the future is the length of sections we do on certain roads. And I get the concept that we spread it out through the whole township so everybody feels like they're getting a little piece of their tax money back, and we try to hit the hardest, the worst places first type of thing maybe to get dealt with. But there has been a couple instances where I've found that we, for the sake of another 500 feet, we could have finished up one chunk of road 1 year. And instead, we choose to come back a year or two later to do that other little piece. We've inconvenienced everybody that uses that road, lives on that road twice instead of once. And if there's any chance that that could be kind of looked at moving forward, that doesn't have to happen every time. I get there is cost restraints, but it just seems foolish to disrupt everybody's life twice in a short period of time to do a short piece of road. So.
Yeah, and just for clarity, that we don't allocate the projects on a as need base. The worst aren't addressed first. That's not the process by which the road need study informs how we do public works. So just for clarity, Wayne, you might want to elaborate on with regards to the road need study and how that document dictates what comes forward every year.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, we are doing a road need study update this year, and it does the roads in sections, and within the section, we do identify the worst pieces to be replaced. So I think we appreciate the comments, and we'll try to take that into account looking forward. But we do the roads in sections under the road needs, and they're rated accordingly. So for that, you are correct, Mr. Mayor.
All right, so we have 3 recommendations in the report that we award the Cavan Monaghan portion of the Peterborough County Cooperative Tender T-02-2024 to Miller Paving at the lowest tender amount of $365,657.60 with HST of $47,535.49. The total tender amount being net municipal HST is $372,093.17. And the council approved the addition of Buckland Drive to the surface treatment program for an amount of $8,072.96. The total amount for the addition of Buckland Drive with the net municipal HST is $8,215.03. And the council approves the 10% contingency in the amount of $38,030.82 for the project. The amount for the approval, including contingencies, is $418,339.03. The surface treatment program of $418,510 was approved in the capital budget. Can I get a mover and a seconder for those 3 recommendations? Councillor Natchoff, Councillor Byrne, all in favor? That is approved. On to the next one, Miss Iat, the 2024-24 Harvest Table Dinner.
Thank you, Mayor. The report before council for consideration is PEB 2024-24 Harvest Table Dinner with following recommendations. That council authorizes staff to organize a harvest table dinner on September 13th, 2024 on Needlers Lane next to Needlers Mill. And that council appoint a council member to work with the internal harvest table committee.
Thanks, Ms. Iat. Look, great event. It hasn't been around for a few years due to COVID and some other ways. So I'm sure people are excited to come and be a part of it again, September 13th. Makes sense. Questions? Councillor Natchoff.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm just curious as to, I know the original date was looked at as Saturday, the 14th, and was there a reason why you were proposing a change from a Saturday to a Friday?
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Natchoff. I think one of the concerns that we've kind of run into in the past is that Saturdays, even in September, people are still kind of going away to their cottages. there, you know, the weather is still nice usually in September, so we thought we might get a little bit more attendance on a Friday night. And Saturdays are usually a really busy day for businesses downtown, so maybe to try and stop pulling away from the businesses downtown.
Thank you. Just two more questions. One, why did you look to change it from the main street to the Mill Pond? Which I do like the idea of that. And do you have a number in mind of how many seats would be available? And could you let us know what the capacity was at the last one and what you propose the capacity to be at this one?
Sure, thank you. Through you, Chair, to Councillor Najoff. So the reason we were proposing a new location, as noted in the report, we're hoping to kind of eliminate the negative impact of a road closure on King Street for the local business owners. But also that area is very picturesque. It's a natural historical feature in our community, and we thought it was really appropriate to relocate it to that area. In terms of previous attendance, we set the pricing up for 150 to 250 people. I want to say the Harvest Table Dinner that we held in 2017, 2018, I think we had 200, I think is what we had. We hope to have that many. We're budgeting between 150 to 250. Oh, yeah, yep.
All right, any other questions with regards to that? So in conversations, Deputy Mayor Huntley, I believe, served on the council rep on the last time. So I thought for continuity, but also as being the rep on the BIA, it would make sense. And in speaking with Deputy Mayor Huntley, he's accepted. So he will be the representative on that committee. But if he's ever not able to meet a meeting, we'll probably sub in with different reps, if just like we do for other meetings. Okay, so if everyone's okay with that, then we'll move forward with the two recommendations. One, that council authorize staff to organize a Harvest Table Dinner on September 13th on Needler's Lane next to Needler's Mill, and the council appoint Deputy Mayor Huntley to work with the internal Harvest Table Committee. Moved by Councillor Nachoff, seconded by Councillor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. All right, Bridget, we are still with you with regards to 2024-25 road occupancy permits for 2024 special events.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you to council, the next report before you for consideration is PEB 2024-25. The road occupancy permits for 2024 special events with following recommendations. That council authorize staff to issue road occupancy permits for special events on county roads to occupy roads in the township for events, festivals in 2024, as outlined in table 1 below in the report. And that Township of Cabot-Monaghan provides a certificate of insurance to the County of Peterborough for the scheduled 2024 events, festivals listed in this report. Council has, if you recall, seen this report before. However, there have been some amendments to some of the locations enclosures. So it is important that this match the certificate of insurance. Obviously, one that I should note is the Harvest Table Dinner, which is in fact, no, actually, sorry, I won't, it's right.
Okay, Bridget, thank you. So all those dates for the various permits are included. Any questions, Councillor Byrne?
Through the chair, one thing that I'm curious about, forgive my ignorance, but so we plan all this ahead of time. Closing the main road in Millbrook is difficult. We did it kind of short notice, I think, for the filming of the last little episode in Millbrook, which I think went off fairly well. Everybody I've talked to, Community Care especially, said that they were more than happy with the way they were treated and the respect and everything given. I'm just curious how those things are handled as compared to this formal thing where we set dates down for hard and fast events.
Through you, Chair, to Councillor Byrne, these are annual events that take place. So we try and make sure that we have the appropriate paperwork in place because we know they're happening. Filming is kind of spur of the moment, obviously. We don't know from year to year what production company is going to come or wants to come. And occasionally there are events that do pop up that are not part of this report, probably because they're a new event or well, just that they're a new event. So this report represents what we know happens on an annual basis, but we obviously deal with others as they come in. Sorry.
Thanks, Bridget. Other questions? If not, we'll look for a mover and a seconder with regards to the two recommendations the council authorized staff to issue road occupancy permits for the special events on county roads to occupy roads in the township for events festivals in 2024 as outlined in the report, and that the township of Cavan Monaghan provides a certificate of insurance to the county of Peterborough for scheduled 2024 events and festivals listed in the report. Moved by Councillor Burns, seconded by Deputy Mayor Huntley. All in favor? That is approved. Excellent. Moving on, we have Chief Balfour for paging services agreement Fire 2024-02. Chief.
Good afternoon, council. The recommendation before council today is that council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute a bylaw number 2024-24, being a bylaw to authorize the township of Cavan Monaghan to enter into a radio services agreement with Bell Mobility Inc., including the townships of Durrell Dummer, Trent Lakes, Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, North Kawartha, and Otonabee South Monaghan. The report before council today is in regards to paging. Paging is used to alert firefighters to emergencies in the community. Task Page, our current provider, has provided us notice that they're no longer going to be providing this service. And this affected all the municipalities in the county of Peterborough, their fire services. And so a committee was formed to review and explore 6 different options as contained within my report today. The best option being recommended by staff today is the Bell paging report. This is a significant cost over our current cost by our current supplier for paging. However, it is the best plan to ensure reliable paging for firefighters to emergencies within the community. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thanks, Chief. Councillor Edgerton.
Thank you. To you, Mr. Mayor, to the Fire Chief. I do believe the paging system now, the 911 call comes to Peterborough and then they go through TAS to set off pagers. Would that be correct?
Through the mayor to Councillor Edgerton, that is correct. The 911 call comes down through and is passed over to TAS and back out to our pagers, correct?
Okay, so, and I understand that paging system is closing down, like they're selling out that business or just closing it down. So why are we going to a new system completely? And if we go to a new system, are we using the cell phones and pagers or both? And if this is a cell phone, is it through the Bell portable, like our cell phone system?
You got that, Chief?
Through the mayor to Councillor Edgerton, 2 distinct differences. One is paging, and that's what we're proposing today. It's through the Bell network, okay, but it's a towers, much like what TAS had. TAS had a number of radio sites throughout the county. Those sites were owned and operated by TAS. Bell is going to put us on as a locate, thank you. And we'll be using their towers to run the paging system. I believe what you're referring to is an app in addition to the paging that the fire service uses. That app relies on the cellular network and is prone to failure, or as people drive through the community, you see signals dropping and stuff. So you can't rely on getting a signal on that app to use that as your form of notification for firefighters during an emergency. What we're proposing is using the pagers. So to answer your question, we're going to continue to use both. We're proposing going with Bell and continuing on with the app. The app, for several reasons, you can help manage staffing to ensure that you can see when it's up and functioning. You can see who's responding. That's the name of the app, who's responding, to see how many you have coming. And in some instances, if you don't have enough, for an example, for a structure fire, then you can enact mutual aid sooner. So it is beneficial, but it is prone to network outages.
So just to clarify, because I don't want to speak for Councillor Edgerton, who knows more about this than I ever will. But with regards to, because of the Bell, it doesn't mean like the paging system is still going to operate through a paging network of devices. It doesn't utilize cell phones exclusively. It's completely insulated from the, I guess, variability of service connections that, by being a pager network, we don't have those loss of signals like we do from a cell network. And it utilizes pagers, not some sort of app on a phone, a handheld device. Is that just correct? Because that's what I interpreted as what Nelson's question.
That is correct. It's on a paging network, not a cellular network.
Councillor Edgerton, to follow up?
So we're going to use pagers. So do we have them pagers in stock, or are we going to this year's system? We have to buy all new pagers for all the firefighters? And will our radios still communicate, or are we going on to a different system on the radios in the trucks and the portables?
Through the mayor to Councillor Edgerton, I believe it's a two-part question. The first part is, do we have to buy all new pagers for the firefighters? No, eventually they wear out. Pagers, in our operating budget, we buy so many pagers a year. People break them, they wear out, they get lost. So that as we transition to this, that's our plan, is to buy a few every year, not all at once, so they won't all wear out at once. The second part of your question was about our radio system. Radio system and the paging, two separate functions. The radio is still analog, and we're looking forward in the future to going to digital, which requires some hardware upgrades by the township. We have two radio frequencies, but two separate. Right now, there's no changes to the radio system, the communication truck to truck, portable to portable, or portable to truck.
So just to reiterate, because it's kind of a bit confusing. So separate, the radio network isn't affected by this. And with regards to the pagers, going with Bell doesn't require us to get a whole new supply of pagers, but we can continue to sort of amortize the replacement year over year as we've been doing for perpetuity. But the only caveat is that the radios, if we transition, like when we're not doing that in this report, but if we transition to a digital signal, we would probably have a significant cost for replacing the radios at that time, but that's again separate, correct?
Two-part question again. Pagers. We can change the cap codes, and I think Councillor Edgerton will understand. We can change the cap codes to work with this new system. That's what we're going to do. As we need to buy new pagers, they wear out, etc., then we'll be going to these new Swiss phones, which are approximately the same cost as what we're paying today for a pager. The pagers we're currently buying, they're even getting hard to find the Unicell or that type pager. There'll still be a readout display. They're not voice. They're a readout display, but yes, and they're approximately the same cost, a few dollars difference, but they're in the ballpark. And the second question was about the radio, the hardware on a radio system. If in a future report, would there be a significant cost? We have been working for many years in anticipation as we replace the hardware in the trucks. So there would be very few that would need to be switched over. It's the actual repeater in the communications room that would need to be replaced.
Thanks, Chief. Follow up, Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair, I'll do them one at a time. That way it won't be confusing. Right off the hop, there's 8 townships in the Peterborough County, 6 of them are in. Why?
through the mayor to Councillor Burns, some townships are relying on different systems that some of them, for an example, will be have chosen that they want to be in the paging business. They want to buy the hardware, upgrade their system, not upgrade it, but be purchasing a system, or simply just relying on cellular networks. So the question in the report today is if you want to be in the paging business and create that infrastructure and that management and the replacement for it, or do you want to I'll use the term farm it out to a supplier like Bell that manages it all. It's going to buy you some time for, well, 7 years to see if there's any advancements in technology that you could utilize to possibly maybe go away from this or move in a totally different direction. You have the flexibility at the end of this contract to look at what your options are, or you may simply be happy with the service and renew the contract.
Well,
Through the chair. So the disclaimers and the warranties from Bell scare me. It looks like we're responsible for every cost moving forward, even if they know there's deficiencies in the equipment or the software that they're gonna first give us or whatever. And then when I look at the reference page 84, 8.5, it says even, I think we're buying this system. I think we're buying this equipment, if I read it right. We're not allowed to resell it if there's any changes from our end. And the whole warranty thing worries me. Are you concerned about that at all?
Through the mayor to Councillor Burns. I think some of it, of your question may be correct, but the thought process with going with the lease, you can't sell, if you buy a vehicle and you lease it, you can't sell that vehicle at the end of the term of the lease unless you pay it out first. If the market, if you want to sell it out and the buyout of the lease was more than or less than what the market would bear. Normally it's the other way around. So I think in this instance, leasing is the way to go to allow time to allow technology. Paging is an antiquated system. You have to ask yourself, do we want to be in an antiquated system, or is there going to be advancements in the future that'll allow us to move to something that's, as reliable and more cost effective?
follow up, Councilor Burnt.
Through the chair, to that note, there's references back and forth all the time about the towers we're using now don't meet two different standards, NSA and another one. What does have to happen to the towers that we have, one right out here behind the fire hall or the city hall here, to upgrade them to be so-called up to standards? And the other thing I wanted to know about towers was if we're using Bell towers, are they generator backed up? What happens to us if their towers go down because of an outage, hacked or whatever?
Through the mayor to Councillor Burns, that was one things that was explored and fleshed out in detail. They are generator backed up. That is in the agreement. That is a requirement. The tower here at the municipality has two radio towers. You are correct. The tower at the one station at station 2 may be engineered, but it wasn't put up with an engineer's report. Okay. Moving forward, again, future reports with council, and that's why we have our communications reserved and working with our partners down in Public Works. They have some needs for equipment for their water department. Okay, so in future years, we're looking at maybe moving it to the municipal water tower as a location. That's pretty sound engineered structure. And we would share those climbing costs, because every time you climb a tower, maybe not the one out here behind the municipal hall, but towers like the one we're talking about with Bell and the water tower, there's significant costs in and around $10,000 a climb. So we'd like to share those costs with our Public Works Department, Water Department.
Thanks, Chief. Other questions? Counselor Edgerton?
And there we go. To you, Mr. Mayor, the fire chief. It says that if any of these towers that Bell owns, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you said the pager system is coming over Bell's towers for question one. That's how it was sent out. So then, as Jerry found out, they have generator backup. But it also says in this report that if any government regulations come out about these towers, it is the responsibility of us that's using them. So is their tower CSA or NFPA approved? And my second question here is, we're tied into this for 7 years and we can't get out of it. If I read this paperwork right, and I don't know who in this world today would guarantee a price for 7 years, because I can't buy anything out there that's guaranteed for 7 years prices.
Through the mayor to Councillor Edgerton, two-part question. First one, are the bell towers engineered? Yes, they are. We wanted to make sure that was covered off. Number two, the price is locked in for the 7 years. That was one of the avenues, but the price point, which is significant and more than what we're currently paying, they've factored out their costs to recoup their initial capital costs. So we looked as a committee to buying the equipment on this system if it required a substantial capital cost. If my memory serves me correct, it was at least $150,000, or we could do the lease option and spread it out over the 7 years. So that's what we brought back forward. Again, I've spoken to advancements in technology and even radio communications. From my perspective, my advice to council is that we go with the lease option so that it provides us flexibility in the future for advancements in technology.
Follow up?
I guess I fire too much questions here, but I do believe that the pager system is coming off the same towers as our cell phones will be coming off us. So we have all kinds of blank spots with the cell phone. So why wouldn't we have blank spots with the pagers?
Through the mayor to Councillor Edgerton, when working with Bell, they did a report back to the committee. It showed the coverage area, and you're correct. There are lighter, they were colored maps. So there was denser areas of coverage and lighter coverages. But for Cabin Monaghan, we had the best optimal coverage reasonably that you could get, better than trying to do it off of our own two towers.
And it is a different genre of signal too, right? It's not apples to apples. Like you're dealing with two different frequencies and two different technologies. So the radio frequency or the paging frequency, it's so many different words to not use in this one. So I'm sorry, Chief, but the paging network and frequency is much different than a cell frequency. So it's not like you're restricted because it's not communicating to cell phones, it's communicating to pagers on a different frequency. So there's not, where you have a bad cell signal doesn't mean you have bad paging signal, if I'm not mistaken.
Through the mayor, that's correct. They are on the same towers. Councillor Edgerton is correct. They're utilizing those towers, but it's different equipment. It's not cellular network they're using paging technology.
I had two questions, Chief, and I'm jump in while everyone else is getting ready for the next one. So as Councillor Byrne mentioned, there's 6 municipalities that are exploring or that are committed to moving forward with this. Is the pricing sort of determined on the buy-in and sign on of all 6 of those municipalities? So that's, I'll go with part one and we'll break it into pieces. So that's part one, sorry.
That's correct. And when we started down this path, when the other 2 municipalities didn't, our costs went up. So if the more that participate, the less the cost is. So it is dependent, yes.
And so this is based on all 6 of us going forward together. And where are other municipalities at in confirming the buy-in? So like, are we the first? Because then, if we're one and the other 5 decide to go another way, then, this cost, we're committing to an agreement that obviously would exponentially go up in cost if others aren't signing up.
To the mayor's question, that is correct. All the municipalities, with the exception of ourselves, and which is today, and Havelock, Belmont, Bethune, I believe is today as well. The rest have passed it.
Thanks for that, Chief. So there's lots of moving pieces. Obviously, it's a significant increase in cost, but when the provider that we've probably been receiving a pretty good deal from for a long time is no longer going to offer the service to us, that's a problem. Councillor Byrne, question.
Through the chair, just for clarity. So we're talking about a lease arrangement for pagers only today, that we have the equipment ourselves. We actually own a fair number of pagers, hopefully enough for everybody. Am I to gather from this that down the road somewhere, there'll be another arrangement for the radio communication? There will be an additional cost?
Okay, through the mayor, to Councillor Burns, two-part question. First of all, the pagers, the municipality owns, they own them today. Okay, we own our own pagers. What we're talking about is leasing this paging equipment to actually send the signal to them. We have that. The second part to your question was about significant cost. There's going to be a cost of changing over the radio repeater, moving into digital. Yes. The question, a few questions ago was, what about the hardware, truck radios and portables? They're, I'm going to say about 95% done. We've been working on them for a number of years through operating budgets as they wear out and replace. So pagers, back to the pagers. We're going to buy, if this is approved, we're going to buy some pagers this year. And then the following years, we'll buy some through our operating pagers to ensure that the lifespan, they're not all wearing out at once.
Follow up.
Through the chair, the direction of that last question was because I believe right now, a little bit I know that we use both pagers and radio equipment to communicate with the frontline officers that are out there doing things. So is that radio communication changing too at this point in time with tasks going offline or not?
Through the mayor to Councillor Burns, the pagers signal and notify firefighters of an emergency in the community. It's an excellent question. Once they get to the fire station, then they're using two-way radios or mobile radios to communicate while they're traveling to an emergency scene or operating on us. I think I got all of your, was there a last part of your question?
Is that radio communication going to exist if we didn't go to this leasing agreement for the pagers?
Through the mayor to Councillor Burns, TaskPage has notified us that they're going to cease operating. They've been working with us. They've been an excellent company, but at some point they're going to shut it down and we don't have anything to go to. So we're trying to make a decision today so that we can move forward.
Just for clarity, Chief, because I'm not sure Councillor Byrne got the answer there, but I think I can help you. And then you tell me if I'm wrong, which is quite probable based on where I'm going today. There is the transition from a radio from an analog frequency to a digital frequency. It has no relevance to the paging agreement. They're completely separate, correct?
That is correct. I'm sorry if I missed the question.
So what we're addressing today is the transition or moving away from a company that's ceasing operations for paging operations. So I probably confused the thing with the radio frequency. It's a completely separate entity. Today's decision has no implications for the transition to a digital from an analog frequency for our radios at all. They're completely separate entities. So that was probably my fault because I was using the words wrong. I apologize, Chief.
Through the mayor, that is correct.
Councillor Edgerton.
You, Mr. Mayor, the Chief. We're right now, when we dial 911, I do believe it goes to Peterborough Fire Department, and then they go through TAS to set off your pagers and stuff. Through this new system, when somebody dials 911, where is it going and where is this company out of? Because I see on section 3.1, surcharges and foreign taxes or those imposed by the third party may be above and beyond this cost. So where is this company? Where are we working with them? And where does the 911 have to go to reach them to come back?
The 911 call will go down, it's going to operate very similar to the way it does to Task Page, except it's not going to Task Page, it's going to go to the Bell system. So Peterborough, through their console, it's going to fire to the Bell system. I'm not sure if I'd like some clarification on your question, because I think if you require a third party, what they're saying is if we move from Peterborough to a different dispatch center, which could be possible in the future, we're responsible for those costs in Peterborough, is what they're saying, and any equipment it takes to fire it to the Bell network. And currently they have the capability, which was fleshed out while we were doing this agreement, that they're able to send this signal to the new Bell network.
You, Mr. Mayor, the chief. So Peterborough Fire will have nothing at all to do once you go into this new system. Is that right? 911 will go to the new system and then they will send it back out, and can the new system, if they get updates, and instead of the accident being in Tapley, it's at Airport Road as they get mixed up, can you talk to them on a radio, or how are you going to communicate with the new system?
The paging system will still go from the 911 center, the PSAP, down to Peterborough Fire. Peterborough Fire, in their new console, the upgrades that you've just seen in the news, is going to fire to this Bell paging network. I think what you're reading is, back to your first question, is if we left Peterborough and we switched and we went to somewhere, doesn't exist right now, but if it went somewhere, we would be responsible for those costs and putting that I'm going to use the term console or board in Peterborough's console to make sure that it fires to the network. All they're saying is, you take the 911 call, you dispatch it, we need the piece of equipment to send it to the Bell network, which I'm indicating to you that Peterborough has to do that.
I think the confusion might be around the foreign taxes or the third party components. Like theoretically, right now, we're going through Peterborough, but if you wanted to outsource this to some other switchboard technology that could be an international company somewhere else, well, then that is an additional part of the connection fees in addition to setting up the new base where the feeder would go through. So it's not like Bell is a Canadian corporation, it's operating in Canada. So that's, I think, some of the foreign components would be if we're moving away from Peterborough to some sort of call center, like I'm going to use bad examples, but to some international call center to be the coordinator, then that would obviously be a separate component. But all we're doing with this would be subbing out TAS, which is no longer going to be in the business as soon as they're able to get out, and putting in Bell. But the Peterborough arrangement still stays the same. Is that helpful?
There we go. If once we sign this contract, then we can't get out of it for 7 years, according to the paperwork. We're tied up with it. So if we won the lottery and decide to put in our own paging system or something, we cannot get out of this.
Through the mayor to Councillor Edgerton, that is correct. That's part of a lease agreement. That's like if you lease a vehicle, it's for a set period of time, 2 years. If you want to get out of it, you have to pay those costs. That is, I guess, a downfall. The positive side is we're not paying the upfront capital costs that would be required to do it on by ourselves, or on the Bell network with the 150,000.
Councillor Byrne?
Through the chair, just for a mute point, as far as Bell being a Canadian company, I know firsthand that even their workers right here in this area, this province, get on the cell phone and call somebody on the other side of the world to find out about the network they're working on. So everything gets farmed out wherever it's cheapest. And I don't know how those costs are going to impact what Mr. Councillor Nelson was just mentioning. But yeah, the stuff will go where it goes.
All right, seeing no other questions, we have to move forward with the we have to move forward to consideration how to move forward, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So the recommendation is that council authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute a bylaw, being a bylaw to authorize the township of Cappamonigan to enter into a radio services agreement with Bell, including the townships of Douro, Dummer, Trent Lakes, Hamlock, Belmont, Bethune, North Kawartha, and Otonabee, South Monaghan. Anyone want to move that motion? Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Counselor Natchoff. Any questions about the motion? A recorded vote. Okay, we can do that. But question to the motion, Counselor Byrne?
Through the chair, just one concern. With something this new to everybody that's outside the fire system, it'd be nice if we had more time or got advance notice of all the details so we can make a better decision in the future, maybe.
Yeah, I guess we can take that under consideration. We don't like, I think what we're dealing with right now is we're not exactly sure when TAS is going to just say enough's enough. They've been letting us know for quite some time that they're getting out of this business and planning on closing shop. And the issue we have now is if we don't have another provider, we don't have a paging system. And I don't know, based on what the chief said and based on conversations I had with a few other mayors that are going down this rabbit hole, there's no real idea as to how to go about creating your own township owned paging network. It's just not something municipalities have a lot of experience or expertise in, let alone the fact that if there's issues or technological updates or things like that, you're still going to have the cost of accessing, sending a certified person to climb the tower to address the issue. And then you're not going to have anyone with the technical capability to understand exactly how to repair it. Then the network's going to be down if you don't have another, some sort of device to transmit while that's unit's down. It just sounds like an incredible, as much as I lament the cost, I understand we have been receiving a significant benefit from the existing agreement that probably hasn't been competitive for some time, but there's really no option. So smoke signals. Well, as we just experienced, as the chief was mentioning to me when I asked him some questions about the report, I think the derecho that we had a few years ago kind of explains that you need multiple avenues and channels to sort of circumvent this. And if, even if we were to go through, there was a rough estimate of 150,000 K. Well, the benefit of Bell is that you'll have more towers to potentially locate on, whereas we have, what I think the chief said, 2 right now. So obviously that's a constraint as well. So anyways, we have a motion on the floor. There's no more considerations. Looking for a call for a recorded vote. Ms. Page, if you could do that for us, that'd be great.
Absolutely. Through you, Mayor Graham, Councillor Edgerton,
Yeah, for the report.
Deputy Mayor Huntley,
Yes.
Councillor Byrne,
Yes, with worries.
Councillor Natchoff,
Yes.
and Mayor Graham.
Yes, thank you. That is carried. Good discussion. Thank you for all those questions, Chief. I really appreciate all the technicalities to it and glad to know that, unfortunately with the costs of doing business, it's going up, but we want to make sure that everyone in the community is safe as possible. So thanks for all that hard work and working with the other municipalities and their chiefs as well. So it's all the joys of doing business, but thank you for that, Chief. Next report is Miss Page, Corporate Services 2024-05, Fourth Line Theater Summer Season Community Festival Designation. Miss Page.
Thank you, Mayor Graham. Through yourself to the rest of council as well. Before you is the annual report for the request from Fourth Line Theater to designate their summer 2024 season as community festival to make it municipally significant. It is one of the requirements for them to get their liquor license for us to support their 39 events. So before you are the performances, and we're just looking for a motion of support.
Any questions about the report? Fairly straightforward. It's another housekeeping one we do every year. I'm not going to read all the recommendations if you don't mind. I'm already having dry mouth as it is. But the two, seeing no questions there with regards to the recommendations. So it is that the Cabinet designate the Fourth Line Theater's 2024 summer season as a community festival and municipally significant, and that council directs staff to send a letter with the information or acknowledging the 39 performance scheduled and the dates therein outlined below. Moved by Deputy Mayor Huntley, seconded by Councillor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. And on to the next one, we have 8.8, Report Corporate Services 2024-06 Municipal Election Costing. Ms. Page.
All right, thank you. Before you to yourself and the rest of council is Report Corporate Services 2024-06. And the recommendation before council is that council receive the report for information As outlined in the report, January 15th, 2024, council directed staff to bring back a report on what the cost was for the last 4 elections, which is provided in the chart below.
Thank you, Ms. Page. Thanks for staff for pulling that together. Questions with regards to the report? Councilor Byrne?
Through the chair. So the main purpose for me asking for this back months ago was the premise way back in the day was the doing the elections via internet and telephone. We're going to bring down the costs to the old style of doing things. I still have concerns about the integrity and the safety of doing it that way. And then that's only been highlighted by the fact that our cell phones and stuff have been breached a few times in the last year, which heightens that. And then when I look at it, I see a little bit of uptick in the actual participation, but I have no way of knowing with those numbers if that's in retrospect to how many moved in here in those last 12 years. Like, I don't know that participation number compared to the actual population of each of those dates to see if it is a true uptick or not. I don't know how you calculated those percentages.
So the municipality is given the role of the eligible electors that we have. So that's the number we get from the province, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. So that's why if you follow along with the electors, the eligible electors has gone up, like you said, with population. I mean, they're obviously not counting the kids, but I know there's been some other additional adjustments to that list over those, I guess it's 12 years. They're always trying to, cull certain individuals that no longer in, like whether you're, an 18-year-old student living at home, if you've moved away, we're always trying to update that list, but that's the list, and the ownership of the list is another very contentious municipal entity. But, and obviously, with regards to the paper ballot, the costs of executing an election as it was done in 2010 would be astronomically more. I think it's, if I'm not mistaken, the staffing is about 20 or how many staff would be required for the 2010 election then versus the how we've been doing it for the last 3 years?
So for the 2010 election, we had 58 workers and we had 10 locations that we had to pay for. In this election, we had 3 voter help centers and we had 2 staff as well as our internal staff.
And those staff are going around to various areas. Anyone who has an issue, staff can go directly to them and support them and helping out. I know we do it for the manor and larger entities, but anyone who has an issue can, by having the 2-week period, staff can go and help them cast those ballots too. Okay, thanks for that. Thanks for that clarity. Councilor Byrne.
Through the chair, just on that note, the other dynamics of that is that the money being spent on those 50-some people at those 10 multiple locations was money spent in the township, creating some kind of employment for a short period of time as compared to paying somebody in Quebec for the nominal service. So just on that note.
Yep, thanks for that, Councilor Byrne. That's noted. Councilor Edgerton, question?
I agree with Councilor Burns. We should have people in here, and with every time we turn on the TV they're talking about computer stuff being hacked into. I would like to see us go back to the paper voting when they come to the ballot box and vote, because we have people in Toronto and all over the place who are voting on what we do down here, and they don't really care. They just vote anyway.
Well, with all due respect, Councilor Edgerton, I mean, we don't operate the list, the province does, so everyone who's eligible receives a PIN number and receives their voter card, and they're eligible to vote just like everyone else. So we're not in the business of deciding who's eligible to vote, thankfully. There's higher levels of government to do that, and so that's the democratic process, and we'll move forward with that. So we're just receiving the report for information at this point, looking for a mover and a seconder for that. Councilor Byrne, Councilor Natchoff, all in favor. That is approved. Moving on to the next report, I believe it's the capital status report, Ms. Hurley.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Council. The report before you is to be received. CAO report 2024-03. It's 1861 Moncrief line for information. It's to openly advise that the Township of Cavan-Monaghan directed staff to consider the purchase of 1861 Moncrief. That purchase was accepted. The purchase was carried out and the property was purchased for 1.195 as the closing date of April 24th. The budget was set for 1.3 million and therefore we were under budget. We would also identify that there'll be numerous studies that need to be carried out and we'll be utilizing those funds to carry out those next steps. But congratulations, we have now purchased 1861.
Thank you for I'm back. Thank you for that, Ms. Hurley. We're very happy with to have secured the property and we'll wait for the results of those studies to figure out how to best utilize it for the benefit of the constituents. So looking for a mover and a second to receive the report. Oh, sorry, question, Councillor Natchoff.
Not a question, but just thank you for all your hard work on all of this and keeping us informed on all the nuances and things as things have gone along. I think it's been a good learning opportunity for us that haven't had an opportunity to do this before, and you did a great job.
Thanks for that, Councillor Natchoff. That being said, now we can move on to a mover and a seconder for the report. Deputy Mayor Huntley, Councillor Natchoff is a seconder. All in favor? That is approved. Now we have council and committee verbal reports. Any members of council before I go have any verbal committee reports? Councillor Byrne or Councillor Natchoff and then Councillor Byrne.
Just a quick, sorry, through you, Chair, just a quick report. We had cleanup day for the Millbrook Valley Trails on Saturday. Weather was good. A good turnout and participation. We want to thank Chris Allison and his department for all the great work just dealing with you on all issues. You guys have been very expedient to deal with any concerns at any time, and you guys are doing really good work. It's been a good partnership. Other than that, yeah, that's it. Thanks.
Councillor Byrne.
Through the chair, I was just going to bring up the topic of the movie shoot there in the last month, and then the progress it made and the success it was. And the feedback I got from some of the locals down there that weren't terribly impacted, and it looked like it was a success.
Yeah, great work on that, Bridget, and the rest of your staff. And it's very popular. I know the show is very popular. I didn't know how popular it was until everyone let me know. So congratulations on that. I think there was a lot of hearts palpitating at a higher octane for some of the shoots. I know that, staff included. I've heard that loud and clear. So congratulations everyone on a successful shoot. So I have a brief update with regards to the library board. We did meet last month, further discussing the strat plan and figuring out some key KPIs for that. I think we already announced about the graphic changes and things updated, and they're working on another myriad of other events over the course of the summer. So stay tuned for those updates. I was also in attendance on, I believe it was it was Friday, I believe, to attend the naming of the 115-7A bridge over the Otonabee for fallen officer and Provincial Constable Norman F. Maker. Very touching event. There was a number of family members. Constable passed away in a firearm-related incident in 1932. And was badge number 98 for the OPP. So before there was even 100, there was Constable Maker. And I know there was a number of family members that traveled all the way from a lot of parts of the southern United States to recognize the naming of that bridge. So we saw the unveiling of the things. Those will be mounted in the next few weeks. But Chris Galiatis should receive a number of accommodations for his work and advocacy in getting that through and getting that recognition of a local fallen officer for that bridge naming. It was a really touching ceremony. There was a number of dignitaries there from all levels of government, as well as the family members, which were obviously very touched. So I just wanted to kudos to Galiatis for his work and advocacy in getting that done. And yeah, it was a lovely event, and especially for the Maker family with obviously surviving that tragedy. It was neat to see the generations that have lived on in his absence, obviously. So kind of tragic, but a positive event overall. So with that, we'll look for a mover and a seconder with regards to those verbal committee reports. Councillor Natchoff, Deputy Mayor Huntley, all in favor? That is approved. There is no general business. There is no correspondence for information, correspondence for action. There is also none. The bylaws being bylaw number 2024-22, being a bylaw to authorize the franchise agreement between the corporation of the Township of Capmonaghan and Enbridge Gas, Inc., and bylaw number 2024-23, being a bylaw to delegate to staff certain authorities set out in the Planning Act, and bylaw number 2024-24, being a bylaw to authorize the Township of Capmonaghan to enter into a radial services agreement with Bell Mobility, Inc. in the townships of Gerald, Dummer, Trent Lakes, Havelock, Belmont, Methuen, North Kawartha, Otonabee, South Monaghan, read a first, second, and third time, and passed this 6th day of May, signed by the mayor and the clerk, corporate seal attached thereto. Moved by Counselor Natchoff, Counselor Byrne. All in favor? That is approved. There is no unfinished business. Any notices of motion? Seeing none. Confirming bylaw is bylaw number 2024-25, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the meeting held May 6, 2024, be read a first, second, and third time, and passed the 6th day of May, signed by the mayor, the clerk, and the corporate seal attached thereto. Moved by Counselor Natchoff, seconded by Counselor Edgerton. All in favor? That is approved. Lastly, we have, before we adjourn, there was one other announcement that I just wanted to bring to attention. I shared the information, but as you'll notice, outside the flag is at half mast to recognize the former Deputy Reeve Brian Follis, and obviously the Follises are a big family in our community, and so we pass on our condolences to them, but we remember Brian Follis for his contributions and time served on 2 different terms of council. And like I said, most recently as the Deputy Reeve. So condolences to his family, and we will recognize him appropriately with the flags at half mast. So if anyone asks, that's why. So with that, we look for a motion to adjourn. Moved by Counselor Edgerton, seconded by Counselor Natchoff. All in favor? That is approved. There's a long list of upcoming events, so I'll try to summarize it best I can. The next regular council meeting is Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 at 1 p.m. after the long weekend. The next Millbrook Valley Trails Advisory Committee is Monday, May 27th at 4 p.m. The next regular council meeting after that is June 3rd at 1 p.m. And the Municipal Revitalization and Heritage Advisory Committee meeting is Thursday, June 20th. 2024 at 9 a.m. Obviously, we're also looking forward to, I'm not sure if every member of council received it, but we are also looking forward to the 173rd Millbrook Fair coming up in the second weekend of June. There'll be more on that in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned, and everyone have a safe and enjoy the weather outside. Thank you.